I'm Louise Field, founder of Adore Your Pelvic Floor. We provide training to health professionals, and we also have a program called Adore Your Floor for women in the community. And this is the lovely Diane Danzebrink.
Hello.
Danzebrink.
Danzebrink. She'll get it.
Absolutely pleasure and honoured to be with you today. So Diane, she is a counsellor for women and couples, and she is also a consultant for the working and business organisations, and the founder of Make Menopause Matters. Okay, guys, ladies, please get on that petition, sign it so that we can get more education out within the UK. So we're going to be doing a short video with regards to the natural remedies for the menopause. We're doing a series of videos here. This one is about the natural remedies. So disturbed sleep, Diane. Natural products for night sweats.
Natural products for night sweats. So for night sweats, a lot of ladies try sort of things like
putting your leg outside the duvet.
Yeah, exactly. Duvet on, duvet off. A lot of ladies try things like sage or red clover for their night sweats. Some find that they help, some find that they don't. It very much depends upon the power of your sweats and your flushes,
and each individual.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also say, you know, kind of it's about looking at your sleep routine, what you're drinking and what you're eating before you go to sleep, because we know that certain foods and drinks can actually make your flushes worse. So yeah, very, very dependent on each person. But if we're talking purely about helping sleep, then magnesium is something that some women find will help for their sleep. And also anything, products that have melatonin in. So cherries have a high natural melatonin content. So there's a couple of supplements out there that have a combination of melatonin and magnesium. They can be useful for some women. But if you're having really debilitating flushes and sweats, to be perfectly honest, it's highly unlikely that there is going to be you know, sort of an off-the-shelf natural product that's going to help you with those. Okay,
any good common sense advice? Like, I guess there's loads, isn't there? Diet. We've mentioned it on the previous video, but Diane done a video with a nutritionist called Mel. That is the video to watch with regards to nutrition. Very common sense.
Yeah, I think
I think
the key things around that are, you know, sort of eating a good, healthy, balanced diet, cutting out sugar where you can.
We know these things. It's just putting it in practice.
I know. I hate to say it, but you know, sort of cutting out alcohol where you can, because we know that makes, for some women, that makes flushes and sweats worse. If you're a real curry fan, that might also be an issue for you. And the other thing is caffeine. We know that caffeine can make your flushes and sweats worse. If you absolutely have to have caffeine, try and have it in the first part of the day. Try and have it sort of before midday.
Okay, lovely. So let's see here. I've repeated this one here, I think. I'm going to go on to the next one. Exercise. So exercise is great for your heart health, bone health, metabolic rate, muscle tone, flexibility, coordination, balance, whilst also raising your natural feel-good endorphins.
Yeah, your serotonin level.
We're going to do a whole subject on a whole video with regards to that, but I think the whole of the UK know that a regular walk a day, just being active generally and taking those things into account, because we can lose our balance without realising it.
Oh, absolutely.
Suddenly one day it's like, oh, blimey, where's my balance gone? So I think we'll cover that on a separate video, if that's all right. So the GP referral guidelines to help depression. So we're talking again about exercise here. Is actually 20 to 30 minutes of gentle exercise, i.e. walking. And I find that I adore walking. I love that as an exercise. But I actually find I need a reason to walk somewhere. So I will actually walk to the post office.
Okay.
I'm going to post this letter. Yes, I could drive past it, but I'm going to walk to it. The other thing I always recommend is finding a walking buddy, because if you don't feel like going that day, your buddy will do, and vice versa. And there's nothing like a good old chin wag while you're walking, while you've got that fresh air, the vitamin D. You can see the birds, you can smell the trees and the blossom. It's just the best thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've got dogs, so
you have a reason
even at my absolute worst, you know, at the bottom of my kind of menopausal pit. Actually, I knew I was at the bottom of my menopausal pit because I didn't want to walk my dogs. So I do have a reason to walk, and I love to walk them. But I would equally say, you know, kind of we know that there are guidelines around exercise, and we know that for menopausal women, it's important that you're doing some weight-bearing exercise. But I would also say it can be very difficult when you're really struggling with symptoms, you know, to be told, well, you need to do 30 minutes of exercise 5 or 6 times a week. It's like, I can barely get off the sofa, either because of physically or mentally. So I would say, you know, start small. Do 100%. Something, you know, kind of do something really small, even if it's kind of 5 minutes of a walk, or if it's 5 minutes of yoga to somebody on YouTube. And talking of yoga, if you haven't tried yoga before, menopause is a brilliant time to start, because it's fantastic for your joints. It's also fantastic for your kind of mental health, gives you some time for yourself. And if you're going to start, don't start with Ashtanga, because that's quite hot and quite fast. Start with a really gentle relaxation class, a restorative class. Lots of my clients have got a huge amount out of taking up yoga. I think it's amazing. So yeah, I think, you know, kind of just don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Yeah, I think if you think small, so when I'm teaching an exercise class in the studio, and there's some days I can go into that class and I am cream crackered and knackered. And so I always say just go real steady, because actually the energy levels often start to increase as the duration of the class goes on. And it's not often, because there's depression and then there's like just thinking, I need to have a lift, I need to raise those endorphins. They are two different things, aren't they? But I can often not feel like a workout, and I'm a fitness professional. But actually, I'll do that exercise and I'm always elated afterwards. I think sometimes we have to say, okay, so I don't actually feel like doing this, but I am going to do it. Don't think sometimes, and actually just start to do. And your 5 minutes is perfect. And I think it might be 6 in the end.
But I also think that's great what you say about having a buddy. If you've got someone that you go to, that you've agreed to go to a class with or a walk with, you know, it's kind of, it becomes more about, I don't want to let them down.
And you want to see your mates.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I don't want to exercise, but I do want to see my friend.
That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah. We've talked about reducing alcohol.
Smoking, obviously.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
We all know that.
Yeah. Again, this is all good common sense advice that actually we have been told time and time again on a weekly basis, daily basis in the media. Other good natural remedies. So, acupuncture. Your experience of what you've had feedback with regards to acupuncture.
So there are actually a couple of very small studies, independent studies around acupuncture, showing that acupuncture can help with the vasomotor symptoms. So that's your hot flushes and your night sweats. Doesn't work for everybody, but for those women who absolutely cannot have HRT, and I have to say that's a tiny amount of women, or those that just choose it's not the right path for them, acupuncture can definitely be something to look at. As I said, you know, kind of yoga is great for a little bit of, you know, sort of restful time for you. Mindfulness is brilliant. So if anybody wants to try mindfulness, there's a couple of great apps, one called Calm, one called Headspace. I think they're both still free to start with. So, and also, you know, I'm a massive fan, obviously, doing what I do, of talking. I think, you know, sort of menopause can be a difficult time, not just because of symptoms, but because of life pressures. And it can also be a time when women are starting to think, oh, hang on a minute, my life's been like this for X amount of years. And they're starting to think, oh, hang on a minute, I've still got these things that I want to achieve and this that I want to do within my work life, etc. So it can be a really good time to find somebody to sit down with to kind of talk all that stuff out. Because very often clients will say to me, do you know what, the greatest kind of joy of this has just been having somewhere that I can put all this out and know that it's not going to get shared, know that it's confidential and it's just between
on
us.
Somebody else.
And just having that support.
Is your partner.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So it can be an ideal time for some coaching or some counselling or just some talking therapy, just having somebody to talk to. CBT can be quite useful.
Yeah.
So cognitive behavioural therapy, again, you know, kind of, it certainly wouldn't be my first line, but it can be a useful add-on. It can be a useful adjunctive treatment. And again, for those ladies who absolutely cannot have HRT, CBT can be something useful as a package of help for them, just to help them overcome those kind of negative automatic thoughts, particularly when they're having those hot flashes and night sweats, or when the anxiety's rising. It's just about teaching some really simple skills.
Yeah.
So that can be useful
the resources,
too.
Isn't
Yeah,
it?
absolutely.
Pull on. Light therapy. Any thoughts on light therapy?
Okay, so
I've heard of it. I don't know.
Okay, so I know quite a lot about light therapy because I trained as a laser therapist many years ago. So light therapy, essentially, laser is acupuncture with needles. Laser therapy is acupuncture with light.
Okay.
So you will see two types. You'll see those practitioners that use a single point laser, and you will see those practitioners that use what we call a cluster head. So that's where you've got lots of lights just in, you know, kind of in one head. Light therapy essentially works on, so the energy of light is called a photon. Photons of light are absorbed into the body. This is really simple. Absorbed into the body,
scientific.
and that kicks off essentially a sort of a system within the body. So it kicks off lots of different bodily functions.
Yeah.
So it can be very useful for if you've got a lot of muscle stiffness. Light therapy can be very helpful. If you've got repeated kind of joint problems, it can be very helpful. It's really a management system.
Okay.
I know that there are some people who have had a little bit of what we call laser puncture. So that is acupuncture with light rather than with needles. And they have said that it's helped their flushes. I absolutely have no research to prove that I can draw on. So if it works with needles, there is, you know, kind of, there is the thought that potentially it could work, but it's certainly not something that, you know, kind of I've ever been involved in. My work has been very kind of biomechanical, musculoskeletal.
I get that. Same here. Any dodgy claims that we see advertised? So obviously we're not going to be mentioning companies here, but I mean, I guess you see this every day of the week, don't you?
The problem is that, as we said on the last video, menopause is very trendy.
Yeah.
You know, it's very, you know, it's very of the now. It's very in the news, which is great because that's why we're campaigning. That's why we want people to talk about it more. We need to normalise it. However, that also brings along lots and lots of new products, because when something is in the news, then consequently that's an opportunity to produce a new product, etc. So the problem is that a lot of these products come with a lot of claims. Same with beauty products. Yeah. They come with a lot of claims, but actually, is there anything scientifically independent to substantiate those claims? And, you know, I said to you a little while ago, I see women spend an awful lot of money on these things because they're desperate for help. So I would say, whatever you're thinking of buying, do your research.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen all kinds of stuff come out. I would just say, whatever you're going to do do your research, try and do a little bit of independent research. Sort of knowledge is power, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's like you say, everybody's individual, and some things work for some people, other things work for others. My last point here is kind of really what we've already kind of said, really, but talking to my girlfriends is the best medication for me. And because they lift me up. So when my girlfriends are like, oh, Louise, that's normal, because I might be talking about not menopause, just life. And it's like, oh, really? I'm like, I've been blubbering away. It's like, oh, great. And so my friends can really lift me up. And if you do have a friend that is of that relationship with you, where you can support each other and have a laugh together, I think is the best medication. It can be absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, I think your friends can ground you as well, because I think when we spend a lot of time on our own, kind of we've got our sort of what we kind of describe as our chimp brain gets going, telling us stories, and we're always going to tell ourselves much more scary stories than any film producer could ever tell you. And that's just because of part of the way the brain works. So I think sometimes, you thinking, kind of I shouldn't be feeling like this or whatever. And it's like, so if you've got a friend who's also going through it and they're like, oh, I feel like that all the time. It's like, oh, okay. Good. I think the difficulty is where you don't. I think the difficulty is for those younger women who they are going through it before their peer group. So for me, I was 45. None of my friends were menopausal. They certainly weren't talking about being perimenopausal. So I did feel very isolated, because although they were great and really supportive, none of them knew what I was going through. Yeah. So I think, sort of being one of the things that I think the internet has been brilliant for is bringing together communities where people can share experiences where you might not have somebody to talk to.
And on that note, I think it is really worth mentioning your Facebook support group.
Yeah, so Menopause Support is the website, but there is also a private Facebook community called the Menopause Support Network. So you can access that via the contact page on the website, or you can just go to Facebook and put in the Menopause Support Network.
Really good.
So I started it about 18 months ago. We've now got about, I think, coming up for 6,500 members.
I definitely signpost people to it, because it's a great group for information. Yeah. And you've got experts on there as well. So you're, again, good source of resource. Okay, well, that's it. So thanks very much.
You're very welcome.
Okay, Diane, thank you, my darling.
You're welcome, lovely.
Bye-bye.